for being here. I'm going to undermine myself and read new things before I read from the book at all. This might be an essay, but who cares? It's called Self-Portrait Wanting. Who chooses to be hemmed in until it's already happening? Machine turning me back on myself to make it nice, neaten a fold into permanence. I used to offer myself as an aperitif. That seemed like the only affordable sureness. I used to wonder what this made people say, then refuse to listen as they spoke. I obsess over the scene where Bradley Cooper is furious at being offered sex without feelings, ranting at how cheap the deal was, and his therapist interrupts him to say that maybe this woman offered him sex so that he would be her friend. And isn't every movie about relationships really just another story built to breed hate towards loneliness? Who can stand being so much themselves that there are no hands reaching towards them as they run off? When he chases her down after the final ballroom to tell her he loved her from the very first, it's so clearly a lie. And I carry that line of thinking coiled around my fingers, a set of keys when walking home at night. I am the perfect weapon against myself. I am sorry to be so seen by two men pretending a crisis of communication into something pedestrian. It would have been perfect if the whole thing ended when Bradley was told he was wrong. It feels stupid to say this, but let me be stupid a minute and say I'm more excited by someone else's excitement than mine. I'm unsure of wanting anything but attention and autonomy. Which matters more, being noticed or being trusted to survive without intervention? My therapist suggests another man, uses an allegory about a bad relationship to talk about agency, insists she's not saying the love I have is corked, only lacking presently. Is there any way of knowing where to stay when people walk away from me without ever moving? My favorite scene on film between lovers is one I avoid. Nicole Kidman stoned and hysterically laughing like a grapefruit peeled entirely in one continuous stroke at how she could have left that afternoon on the boardwalk just after they were first married. Kubrick kicked everyone else out of the room during shooting, just him, Tom, Nicole, and camera, and you can see Tom boiling pink as an oleander with rejected rage and notice they were divorced soon after the film ended because she was too good at making him a fool by acknowledging the world beyond him. Even though the words were provided before the room had ever emptied, so let it be written, the fewer people at the party, the more dangerous the conversation. I hate the word lover because of the sentiment. I hate the word lover because it implies all sex is emotional. I can't tell the difference between need and want, and neither can anyone else. How does loyalty function exactly? I think I'm loyal by reporting everything exactly as I see it. First, honesty is honey, then it stings, then an allergy, then hive. My mother stepped on a pile of wasps and her dad made mud, then threw her in it, then smacked the sting off her by replacing it until the only stinging was him and the welts came anyway. The heart haunts what the heart wants. Would anyone love me this way, looking violent but only as painful as will save me from another vacancy? There are hotels and wigs and other names especially for this. We have whole genres for escaping the self long enough to test whether a feeling is true enough to hold. I've crawled into the bathtub with a TV still blaring someone else's fantasy relationship and tried to stitch it into myself there with soap, like fixing a shadow to the bottom of a fairy's feet. My mom used to rip out my baby teeth before they were ready. The movement of my tongue through possible gaps disgusted her so much she had to intervene. There was a woman I loved so much it fell out of my mouth as cardamom pods. I remember the popcorn, the perfect burgers, every tall boy it took exactly, and how her boyfriend was afraid to call me a thief, and the picture she sent of her neck, an exposed negative held to the light. The mess is important, yes? Important enough to salvage? I make misplaced shadows to bury myself in. What do you call a shadow as it lengthens? A beard. What do you name the reasons for taking slides, for asking a lens to clarify what you can't? Is science a better record than sight? Where was that cab ride with fingers threatening my fishnets, our matching outfits and bangs high above our eyebrows? What would have happened was I not always succumbing to the whims of persistent men? I never notice what I'm after until someone offers a convincing argument, and this time it was light across an air shaft. Not a request, but a suggestion. And in the movies, this is always where the director shifts away from sharing the whole picture. The tension is built through constraints, simulating time as it's abandoned, then a cut happens so the audience can assume filler for absence. I'm working on another project because I'm always writing too many books. That's all letters to Andy Warhol because I hate him. And I think that he needs to be reprimanded. But also I have this like bizarre affection for things that I despise, so that'll be there too. It's about hockey and also being gay. Dear Andy, I've become obsessed with bears, and I hear you laughing at me through a veil of Fire Island sweat and zinc oxide. Summer smells salty, sure, but more chemical than what's iodized. Salt makes everything taste like its best self. Shake it into your hands or throw it over a shoulder. I could tell my therapist about what I dream without feeling stupid, but I prefer keeping secrets, even from her. I'd rather ask again about acupuncture and shiver a little thinking about the needles in my wrists and earlobes. The sun returns wearing nothing but superstition. I believe in the power of a playoff beard, in hockey hair called flow by an announcer as it trails behind Krug's head, helmetless and smashed into the boards. I wonder, does blood excite you like it excites me? I feel grounded when I see a tooth knocked out on screen, when Chara blocks a shot with his bare wrist and laughs at the skin smiling open, needing stitches. How do you feel about sharks? Did you swim the summer Jaws came out, or was it another excuse to hang back, admiring other people's fearlessness? Call it stupidity, the way we try to tame violence with newer rules. There are men fighting over a small slip of rubber with knives strapped to their feet. They hit and hold each other, gain scars and lose incisors as the city empties out onto the beach. It's like a tea dance, me sweating and staring at men through a window. Conquest feels like a winter sport, but it's bled past the season's edge. People in New Hampshire keep taking their horses to Old Town Road because of a song that's become a meme. I add the image to a deck of cards shuffled to mean it's warm enough to swim. Sand dunes and shave ice and a line of cars honking near the highway on-ramp. Heirloom tomatoes and arm hair bleaching blonde from sun. Rhubarb stalks pulled out of the ground, their green cut away with a machete. Anything can be sharp if it moves faster than what it's interrupting. Everyone is ugly if you'd only dig deep enough. So I'm originally from New Jersey, but I've lived in Massachusetts for like 12 years, and I guess that's all that you need for context for this. It's called The Rope is Just for Decoration. I'm rude, a child using the wrong fork, forgetting my napkin. I went away that first sip to a couch in a stranger's basement, tasted Becky's lip ring, and a decade afterwards. I spend too long wondering if a split bottle of wine means that people are fucking, but it's not something you ask. The first place we stop for dinner is doomed and wooden. We don't talk except about the cab radio tuned to Patterson's perennial comeback kid. Fetty Wap is an ass man. Probably fell for the same scene you did. Catherine Zeta-Jones sliding arched under gridded lasers. Recognizable desire common as brown bread, except when you don't recognize desire at all. Find it disguised in garlic. Lamb neck too gamey, a dearth of salt, missed appointment. You bubble like a fish tank, and I've forgotten Ted's name and where we met again. Often, I pass as one of the boys by acting crass, saying yes, then eyebrows raised dramatically, why drunk straight girls take my hand, demanding we leave best friends. The pickup time is criminally quick. I cry all the time about organs grown on the backs of rats or stem cell mapping after we've already lost what we're going to. Sipping past, then press rewind to see, then ask one more time, am I nothing like I used to be? I'm gonna read this next one because I showed Mark a picture of tortellini that I was proud of making. It's called Love is a Weakness. I love you, tortellini and Brodo. I love you, last glass of Girolamo Russo. I love you, Ken and Arthur begging for a raise they wouldn't give me. All my love is a weakness. Disallowed, front of house. Don't sing while setting the table, or tell Danny Meyer you only invoke him as patron saint when it suits the bottom line. I love you birthday wine room flowers and the cab they never came in. I love you crudo cult. I've taken my apron clogs and flowers raw to the tunnel on I-93 where my love finds me a new job in minutes. Cambridge liquor license number 69. Call this letter from my juicing arm one of Massimo Bottura's shitting pigeons. I am happy to have you hate me if it means a set schedule and fair cut of the night's tips plus peshuga when I want it. I love you, anchor in the boatless harbor, and me on the far side of the river where the VP is criminally cheap and that reviewer prick says you oversauce your pasta. Now, I'm paid double, plus my love is close at home, cracking cocktail tins with his blushing hand, making me love most when I don't have to breathe. So there's this TV show that was on PBS for a minute called Mind of a Chef that was hosted by David Chang and narrated by Anthony Bourdain. And in one of the episodes, David Chang goes to, I think it's Norway, to visit Rene Redzepi, who's like one of the best chefs in the world, according to like Pellegrino or who knows who. And they're like preparing a meal together. And one of his instructions that he tells David, who's a chef from America, is like, okay, so it's gonna rain, and then you go into the forest after the rain is over and you collect 1,000 snails. Like, that's the first instruction from the recipe. And David's like, we can't do that in the United States. We're not allowed to like forage food in most places. And Rene Redzepi's like, what the fuck is wrong with your country? And it's like the most redundant question in the entire world. This is called go collect 1,000 snails. The chef of the world's best restaurant says it's as easy as carrying a basket towards damp trees, though there's certainly more to eating organs than how you harvest nerve bundles. I'm stupid at this. Making a roux like Anne would, whisking, not talking, old bread broken apart by hand, broccoli roasting in the oven, add salt to sugar and fat, get an addict. I joke about not enjoying clams and you're worried about losing me to what we both love. It's easy to invent that ending, to brown butter with an unsure hand. Let it be plain as comfort food. I won't leave you for some woman's cooking. Can't stop wanting what I'm wired towards exactly, but I can explain differently. A little owl reminds me every day I'm forgetting my Italian, muddling it with French, Spanish, treating it like wine stuffed into a cardboard box. But who cares how many grapes make it to my mouth? Who cares what I eat so long as it feeds me? You do your best work dealing in acid, homemade ricotta clotting while I wait for a taste. I promise every rain-wet shell to you. I'll cook until you say you've eaten your share. This is a New York poem that doesn't like that place. It's called You Can't Go Home Again Until You Do. I guess there's praise enough left dormant under wilted ice, hotel match sulfur on my pulse points, once burnt dragged through the crease to line my eyes. I've judged harshly. I'm a pill crushed against a book cover. Maybe I'm bitter about being young enough to chase sin's shadow out of the city. I lie to NYU grad students about relative well-being. Fact, KGB bar spun me even more Boston, explaining my favorite oblivion and a guy who'd sell me to his family as anyone but me. I once stripped in the street to dress better for brunch, threw up midday at Diamond Dogs and never slept in Astoria afterwards, kissing my own hands on crosstown buses, and I'm a false tourist when Giuseppe offers hot gin, sweet cream, bergamot, and my stomach royal flattens illogically. I want to hate spring rotten streets, the rats and rushing and not drinking 40s anymore, but there's an alternate thread in Inwood with your perfect hands healed and me running barefoot towards the yield sign where we first met. I won't say two more because I think I do probably three, but we're almost there. I'll do the title. So I go to the movies more than most people, and there was a time a couple years ago where I went to the movies and one of the actors in the film looked and talked and moved exactly like my dead father. And he had been dead for 6 years at that point. So it was really disorienting that like, oh my God, that's Michael Shannon, but also my dad. Like, ew. And also just like started open mouth sobbing. And my partner reached over and grabbed my hand and was incredibly confused. It's just like, do you need to leave? Like, what's going on? And I was like, it's my dad. And he was like, do you need to leave? And I was like, no, I want to come back tomorrow. And the next day, and the day after that, until the movie's not playing anymore. And he was like, I'm not going to let you do that. So this is about that. We both tend far, so like we only really see each other on Mondays. A falling knife has no handle. Say it twice if you can feel wheels spinning hard enough to snap an axle. When I clock in, I'm sloppy. Drop a bottle back into the speed rack so fast it shatters. Most Mondays we don't work. Make time a new shape. Fold it into a hat. Buy tickets to standing still, then sink into our seats with spiked Coke Zeros. When I dissolve in the theater, blame my dad back to life in a Stetson. Please say it twice. We can leave if you need to. I hold your hand when the tumbler lands above her ear, when the bathtub, when bank alarm, when the father says stardust, then dies. When I'm filling space just to let the salt out, you're supposed to take the blade and say yes, to let it fall without reaching for catastrophe. This is just a list of food that I think is delicious, that I somehow got away with calling a poem. It's called Catalog of Loves Gone Undevoured. Toad in the hole with coffee, gravy, panzanella, roasted halloumi, shredded celery root, golden beets, pickled green beans, precise acidity, vinegar forward, winter root vegetable latkes and ricotta, and my first kumquat, cloth-bound cheddar grits, maple glazed pigtails, cheese crostini to shear the sweetness in half, and orange wine by the glass, bright and solid, holding myself open against a window, the Sparkle Bridge in Fort Point where we attempt false stars, $100 bottle of bubbles drunk from a tin boot, straight to hell, boys. We've had so many Italian Mondays, magazine loaded with stewed tomatoes, the ceiling at Capo like the honeycomb floor in my Gram's upstairs bathroom where I banish the mat and press migraine to tile, slow breath, wine, the gun to swallow willingly, cortado to shorten in Spanish. They shovel green peppers into the quimao and I get angry when I can't remember the ratios, the way you spout numbers, or quote correct potatoes over the phone to Pierce and he scoffs. But you memorized boiled instead of roasted if you're making gnocchi, and also Old Fitz plus J.K. Scrumpy cider equals peanut brittle, and Lagita, sherry, and unpasteurized sheep's milk cheese equals watermelon, 3/4 ounces Angostura plus 1 1/4 ounces dry curacao equals a better fireball, texture and taste a careful calculus. Women are supposed to have better palates, so you ask what I've tasted before you'll tell me. Not chocolate exactly, but there it is the beer mellows. Cacao, of course, and something greener. This is called RSVP. Thank you all for coming. It's really wonderful to meet Texas today, or yesterday. I guess I got here yesterday, but I've eaten so many seafood things. Normally I can't. My partner's allergic to seafood, so it's been a culinary vacation. You can teach it with chopsticks. Force a hand to be bold spoon, end ice, unmoving until properly softened. Close the gate. Push forward. Pour water how you pour something made without waste, and what a waste sunlight is on us. Our refusals to stand or speak. It's Monday when starting means skin, when staying means skin. When I binge on supermarket crab cakes and obsess over the private scandals of strangers while you're waking up to Rihanna, beard soaked in catamaran hammock sun. Memory of all we taste passing back through my mouth as exhaled smoke. I'm quitting. Not for you. quitting to improve my shaky palate, but first another sherry and a cigarette. First of all, I hate sleeping alone. Feel most full in your hands, difference between what's done to and for you. Why we hate mead or don't ride horses. It's called abandoning tradition. In Spain, they get air in by throwing their cocktails from great heights, and you do this for me like the glass will never spill. You hate me saying, be well, because it comes too easily. Hate what you can't try, and when we do the should've dance, each missed meal or kiss curled back so far it sinks our shoulders, burnt hair, year over year a tasting, stupid lunch, stupid Tuesday, silly me doubled at Park Street Station telling some woman I'm pregnant when actually I'm emptying. I'm running back to bed a sugared coward, our names on the overpass. Don't have to leave the party when the party is the bottle we don't finish. I won't let you teach me the smacked seal. Won't get paid in anger. Pickled onion hearts bright as a paper cut. I took all invitations, never crossed proper threshold, and we drink what's fast now. Forget hesitating as a mistake. Not a cocktail dying on the mat. Call it breathing instead. You say there's no such thing as a bad spirit, and all I see are ghosts. Little parties full of what we didn't.